Hi there Booktube, it's Eleanor here and it's time for my What I've Read video. This week was a crazy reading week and I mainly attribute that to a readathon I took part in. But before we talk about that, I want to do my Booktuber Shoutout of the week. And this is a Booktuber who I have found recently over the last few weeks and I just can't get enough of her. Her channel is called Winks and Ink and her name is Winks, and she talks about books, science fiction and fantasy and romance, and she talks about her tattoos. She's got a lot of literary tattoos, and she has recently done a video on her newly created reading nook, which looks so lovely, and I am totally in love with her hanging beaded door sort of art. It's amazing. Go and check out that video. But I just adore her, and she has a really soothing voice. I love watching her videos. They always make me feel really calm, and she's got some interesting things to say on books. So if you like the sound of that and you want to check her out, she's linked down below. Go and show her some love and subscribe if you like what you see. So let's talk about this magnificent reading week. I took part this week in the Underhyped Reads readathon, which is a readathon hosted by Charlotte from Ramblings of an Elfire. This is probably the fourth or fifth maybe round of this readathon, and it's brilliant. It's a readathon where you try and read books that are underhyped, and that can be what you see as underhyped. So it could be under a certain number of ratings on Goodreads, or it could be books that you haven't heard about much on Booktube. It's really sort of just a chance to get to those books that have not been talked about so much or have not been rated on Goodreads. But before I get into those, I just want to talk about the 3 books that I read before the readathon. Now this is going to look like I read more than I did, but I finished The Skull Throne by Peter V. Brett last week, and it is a mammoth book, but I was already near the end by the end of last week. So I just finished this book up before the readathon and I really enjoyed it. This is book 4 in the Demon Cycle series, which started with The Painted Man, which I loved and gave 5 stars. This one felt like a slightly slower read to me. It was set out very differently. In the other books we have been flitting between a particular character's backstory as well as sort of the present. This one was more just set in the present but set over different places following different characters. I did find it was more of a slower read, which meant that I didn't enjoy it quite as much. However, I really like the fact that Peter V. Brett doesn't shy away from killing off characters. I think that's really interesting, and he's got no qualms about killing off someone that you really love. So I'm really enjoying this series, and I gave this one 4 stars, and now I have to wait for the next one to come out, and I think it's not till 2017, so a whole year to wait until the next in the series, The Core, comes out. The next 2 books I read were the next 2 instalments in Jill Shalvis' Lucky Harbour series. These I've had from the library for a while. They are gobble you up books where I stay up all night and read them in a day. I love these. They're such fun romantic reads. The whole series is set in a small town called Lucky Harbour, and in each sort of 3-book arc we follow 3 friends and their sort of romantic interludes with various different people in the town. And we have stable characters in the series, like I don't know if she's in her 80s, but Lucille, who is, you know, your juicy couture pink tracksuit, pink velour tracksuit OAP, who is running an art centre and running her own Facebook, Instagram, Twitter account, which is hilarious. And these 2 were brilliant. The first one was Once in a Lifetime. This follows Ben and Aubrey. Aubrey is self-confessed bitch and has taken over a bookstore and is trying to make it profitable. Ben is a widower and someone that Aubrey has known growing up. They went to the same school together. Ben is handy with some tools and is helping her do some renovations, and things get a bit steamy, and I really loved this one and I gave it 4 stars. The next one is It's in His Kiss, and this follows a new arc. It's the final 3-book arc, and this follows Becca and Sam. Becca has moved into Lucky Harbour. She's moved away from some problems that she's had and she just wants to start somewhere new and just have a break. She meets Sam, a brooding boat builder, and hilarity and fun and hijinks ensue, including lots of romance, and I really enjoyed this one too and gave it 4 stars. Next I picked up Gem and the Holograms Volume 1 Showtime. I absolutely loved this. This was a 5-star read for me. It was very nostalgic. I watched Gem when I was growing up and I just love the idea of this story. It's about a group of sisters and they're all into different things. You've got someone who's into fashion and they're all living different lives, but they have a band, and the lead singer Jerica suffers from crippling stage fright, so they're never sort of getting anywhere, and something happens. I don't want to spoil it, so I won't say what, but Jerica manages to overcome her stage fright, and in this volume we follow them as they are entering into a battle of sort of bands against the Misfits, who are already a well-established band, and I just loved this. It had so many great elements to it. It has family, friendship, and loyalty, and it has an interesting LGBTQIA+ character relationship in it, and it is great for people that, like me, grew up with Gem and the Holograms, and also for new readers. It introduces them to the series, and I absolutely loved it, so I definitely recommend this one. Now for the underhyped reads, I managed to complete 5 things. I read 3 books and 2 graphic novels, so I'll talk briefly about the graphic novels first. The first graphic novel I picked up was Coffin Hill by Caitlin Kittredge and Inaki Miranda. I had high hopes for volume 1 of this. I liked the look of the artwork. I liked the idea of sort of a witchy story. It's about Eve Coffin. She comes from a long line of witches. When she's younger, she goes into the forest with some friends. They unleash something evil, and this story follows the aftermath of that and years later when Eve is a policewoman and sort of what happens. This is sort of meant to be a horror comic. I was really disappointed. It flits between different timelines, but I found it very jumpy. I found it very confusing, and I didn't really engage with the story. This was a bit of a disappointment for me, unfortunately, and so I only gave it 2 stars. Next up, I picked up Prez, which is volume 1 Corn Dog in Chief by Mark Russell and Ben Caldwell and Mark Morales. I really loved the idea of this. It's set in an age where technology and Twitter and Facebook and social media has taken over. A new president is needed, and Corn Dog Girl, who is someone that had a viral YouTube video, ends up being the new president. This is really fun and interesting, but I think I may have appreciated it more had I understood American politics more. I think it's very satirical and poking fun a bit at American politics, and that side I really was a little bit lost on me, and so I think that had I been more versed in American politics, possibly it would have been more of an enjoyable read for me, but I did enjoy it and I liked the artwork, so I gave it 3 stars. Next up was Never Evers by Tom Ellen and Lucy Iverson. I was really excited about this. I read Lobsters last year and it made it into my top books of the year. It was hilariously funny and just a great read. Unfortunately, this one was a bit disappointing for me. I think the problem was that Lobsters was involving a group of students that were 18 or just 17, 18, just before they went off to university. This book is about 14, 15-year-olds, and so I think possibly it is aimed a lot younger than I was expecting, and I felt some of the drama was a little bit cliche. It was a fun, fast read, but I think possibly aimed at a lot younger market than me, and so it didn't have anything sort of special and none of those laugh out loud moments that I enjoyed with Lobsters. So unfortunately I could only give this one 2.5 stars. Next up, I read an ARC copy of Hour of the Bees by Lindsay Eager. As I say, I was given this by the publisher for an honest review. This was a real surprise. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about this. The story is about a 12-year-old girl called Carol. She is shipped off with her parents and her 17-year-old stepsister and baby brother to live with her grandfather for the summer in New Mexico because he is suffering from dementia and they need to pack up his house in order to move him into a home. She's not met her grandfather before, and this is sort of the first time her dad is estranged from him. And she doesn't want to give up the chance to have barbecues and pool parties and spend the summer with her friends. So she starts out really not wanting to go. And the story is about her meeting her grandfather and the story he weaves of the family history. There's magical realism, there's family, there's relationships in here, and it was just a really beautiful read. I loved the story that was woven into this. The backstory felt very fairy tale-esque, and I thought it was a really beautiful story, and I really enjoyed this, and I would have given it 5 stars, but there was just some slight emotional connection that I didn't feel that I wanted. So this was a really strong 4-star read for me, and I really recommend it. And then the final book that I completed for the underhyped reads was The Girls by Emma Cline. And this is an art copy that I picked up in a charity shop, and it's not out till June, I believe, but it's underhyped because, you know, not many people have read it yet, and I wanted to read it, so I picked it up. This book is loosely based on the Manson murders, which were in the 60s, where a group of women and a man killed Roman Polanski's wife and unborn child, including some house guests, and then moved on and killed, I think, a shopkeeper as well on a different night. And it's about sort of a cult leader who has brainwashed these group of people into believing certain things. And I think the problem I had was that I just recently watched a documentary on the Manson murders, and this book really does follow the story quite carefully, and so there was nothing exciting or new in there for me. Obviously it's a fictionalized account, but it is an account. I mean, it felt very similar. It's about a girl called Evie, set in the summer of 1969. She meets a group of girls she wants to become friends with. She becomes part of this sort of commune cult. She visits them often. She meets their leader Russell, who is very charismatic and has everybody thinking certain things, and then becomes part of this world. And we're following her past and present, so her as a grown-up now looking back on what happened. My problem with this book is that I didn't feel like, as I say, there was much different to the actual real life story, and I felt quite detached and unemotional about any of the characters. So unfortunately this was a bit of a dud for me. It wasn't terrible, but it certainly wasn't what I was hoping for, and so I gave this one 3 stars. Believe it or not, I did have time to read a few other books this week, but they are all books that are shortlisted for the Booktube SFF 2016 awards, and so I will be talking about all of those in more detail in one of our Booktube SFF Babbles videos coming up in the next few weeks. So check them out at the Goodreads page. I'll link that down below if you want to find out more. I'm currently reading Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen with a group of lovely ladies. We are reading it to a schedule which is around 50 pages each day, and I'm reading my beautiful cloth-bound classic, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm also hosting my read-along as part of the Booktube SFF 2016 awards, and that is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab, and we're also trying to read to a schedule. We're reading around 50 pages or 2 parts a day, so this will be finished by the end of the week. And then I'm also reading Dragon's Blade, The Reborn King by Michael Miller with a lovely friend James, who I've been also reading the Demon Cycle books with, and we're going to be reading this together, and this was a copy sent to both of us by the author, so we're looking forward to seeing what we think of it. So that's what I'm reading, and I will also be catching up on plenty of buddy reads next week because, you know, I love me a good buddy read. But check out Winks and Ink and subscribe if you like what you see. I'm sure you will. She is wonderful, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Bye for now, Booktube.